Now, geographically speaking, Russia is the largest country in the world, and India is 1/5 the size of Russia in terms of its size. But India is 9 times more populated than Russia. Now, when you draw a comparison between the two nations, defense partnership and military collaboration is of prime importance. So let's take a look as to how the military might of these two countries fare in comparison. Now, in terms of military personnel, Russia has 10 lakh military personnel, while India has over 13 lakh troops. Russia has 3,914 aircrafts, while India has just over 2,000. Now, India stands nowhere near in comparison to Russia. Alright, so there is a whole host of comparison which one can actually go through while comparing India with Russia, and also to discuss the important treaties that will be signed and the several defense purchases that are expected to be made by India from Russia. We're joined in by my colleague Siddhant Sibil. Now, Siddhant, this is an important visit of President Vladimir Putin to India. Now, India is, of course, expected to sign this crucial S-400 defense deal, but there are 19 other deals that are also of significance. Now, talk us through it. What is expected? What is on agenda today when the two leaders of these two nations meet?
Well, it's a packed schedule for the Russian President Vladimir Putin here in New Delhi. He arrived yesterday and was received by Sushma Swaraj, External Affairs Minister of India, and then later on he had a one-on-one dinner with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who welcomed him in Russian and in English by tweeting about his visit. But today is the 19th India-Russia annual summit. Last year it happened in St. Petersburg, in which Indian Prime Minister participated. But this year focus will be on the S-400 deal, about which you have already told to our viewers. But other than that, there are other 19 packs focusing from issues like defense, space, energy and other related issues, which bring together Moscow and New Delhi at a time when the global order, the global world order is going through a massive churn, and at a time when we have seen increasingly assertive China and unpredictable US administration. New Delhi would like to have Russia by its side. In these packs, we will see how India and Russia come closer through various means. Remember, Russia will be providing a lot of help when it comes to Gaganyaan, which is India's first manned mission to the space, which will be launched by year 2022. That will be the key component. Other than that, connectivity will be the key focus, because remember, there is plan to connect Moscow to Mumbai through Chabhar port. But remember, November 6th is that date when US sanctions come into effect on Iran. That will impact Chabhar port as well. India is trying to convey to the US administration that is important, especially when it comes to connectivity to Afghanistan. So that is why this is something that will be on the agenda when both the President of Russia and Prime Minister Narendra Modi sit together at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock is the time when they start their discussion formally, and this will continue till 1 o'clock and 1:30. We do expect a press statement and the joint statement by India and Russia.
Absolutely, indeed. We'll discuss Iran in just a bit, Siddhant, but the big question which a lot of analysts in India are looking at is, will the United States invoke CAATSA? Because the United States, there have been mixed signals which have come in where they've said that if India were to indeed go ahead with the purchase of the S-400, then the United States may in fact slap sanctions on India as well. Remember, in 2014, China was slapped with sanctions because they purchased this S-400 missile defense system from Russia. So is there any clarity in terms of what the United States is likely to do? Because this purchase is something which India has made is abundantly clear that India wants to make the S-400 deal, and it wants the deal to go through.
Well, this deal is going to happen today. Kremlin has said that India and Russia are going to sign this deal. And of course, the question is, will under the American CAATSA law, India will be sanctioned or not? The US Defense Secretary, Mr. Mattis, has made a case for India in front of the US administration, in front of the Congress. And there is, of course, the waiver. Will the US President grant a waiver to India? That's the big question, given the fact that Donald Trump's policy has been very unpredictable. Example is of course last week only at UNGA he first lauded India, and by the end of the week he was slamming India, especially on trade policy. So we have an unpredictable Trump administration, but it seems that the US administration will finally give India a waiver. Why? Because remember, India and US now are close partners, especially when it comes to the new construct, the Indo-Pacific construct, in which both the countries considers each other as the bookend of this construct, the Indo-Pacific construct, and several countries have backed this new formulation of Indo-Pacific, whether it's Australia, whether it's Japan, India, and of course America. But other than that, there are several countries, especially in the Pacific countries, who have backed this entire thing. But Chinese are not happy, especially because the power, the center of gravity is now moving from Beijing towards ASEAN, with ASEAN being the key central point with this entire construct. So given the close understanding between Washington and New Delhi, it seems that very much that the US administration, under Donald Trump, will grant India a waiver, especially when India goes ahead with this $5 billion deal, even though it's causing heartburns in Washington. Every country who has gone forward with this deal, S-400 deal, whether it's Turkey, whether it's China, and the other countries showing showing keen interest on this deal, have seen some kind of pressure from Washington.
Absolutely indeed, Siddhant. And very quickly, just before I let you go, the other sticking point which is expected to come up for discussions is India wanting to purchase oil from Iran. Now, the US sanctions, in fact, would prohibit all nations which are the allies of the United States to purchase oil from Iran, and they want these sanctions to kick in from next month. However, considering the strategic ties that India has and its own interests that India wants to pursue, what is likely to be discussed between India and Russia about the purchase of oil from Iran?
Well, Iran is something which is discussed in every bilateral meet, in every multilateral forum, because it's not only India that's getting impacted. Globally, most of the countries will be impacted, because Iran is a source of energy for many developing countries, whether it's India, whether it's China, and Donald Trump administration has made clear that it will be talking to various countries so that there can be cut off oil import from Iran. This, of course, impacts India majorly for biggest reason, of course, because India is a growing economy. India needs energy. India needs cheap energy, and Iran is the biggest source of that cheap energy. So that is going to be discussed because sanctions impacts both India, both Iran. When it comes to Iran, Russia, we have seen the close partnership between Rouhani and Mr. Putin, especially in Middle East. So that is something both the sides will be conveying to each other. They will try to make the other side understand about their position and how they can come together for a mutually benefit solution for both Russia and India, and of course Iran, which is one of the key issues which is being discussed by everyone today from New York to New Delhi.